So as a bit of a part 2 to the other video that I did with the Zeiss 12mm f2.8, I also had along with me the 32mm f1.8 and, used it quite a bit while I was on the drive down to Yosemite and then obviously on the way back as well. I wanted to know how well this lens performed and what its use was like. So here are a bunch of the photos I made, and then after this little montage here, I guess, we will jump in and talk about the specifics.
My wave is messy like the sea. I wanna know if you still surf with me. They say it might turn you around. I wanna know if you still be around. Nothing gets to me. There's only sunshine ahead of me now. Smile at everything. Nothing but sunshine ahead of me now. Nothing gets to me. There's only sunshine ahead of me now. Smile at everything. Nothing but sunshine ahead of me now. Nothing gets to me. There's only sunshine ahead of me now. Smile at everything. Nothing but sunshine ahead of me now. Nothing gets to me. There's only sunshine ahead of me now. Nothing gets to me. There's only sunshine ahead of me now. Smile at everything. Nothing but sunshine ahead of me now.
So now that we've seen some of the images from this Zeiss 32mm Touit lens, how is it to work with in practice? Obviously, it's a really small, compact, lightweight lens. You're getting a full frame 50mm-ish equivalent, which is really great. You also get electronics, working between the camera, obviously, but it also does that thing where if you have it on manual focus, it pulls up the ability to zoom in as soon as the camera starts manually focusing, which is super helpful. Now, I found this lens to be both surprising in some ways that I really enjoyed and very disappointing in some other ways, unfortunately. The first of which is image quality was pretty good. I mean, you're hoping that it's going to be good with a Zeiss Planar lens. The lens is a bit older, obviously, but it kind of mixes those vintage Zeiss primes with some modern aesthetics and usability on a Fujifilm camera. It was also a really good experience when using it in manual focus. You had, I'm assuming it's focused by wire because you can kind of feel things moving at like the slightest of delay. So while it's not as good as just a regular manual focus lens, I do appreciate that it gives you that zoomed in ability once you start going with it. Again, also very small and compact, good aperture ring, but another one of those things where the aperture ring would be nice if it was a little bit more clicky, so it was a little more sticky. But by far, the biggest downside of this lens is definitely its autofocus performance. I pretty much use tracking and AF continuous with every lens that I use. The way I go about doing things is typically I will just find the spot that I want to focus on and then kind of like focus recompose and let the camera track. But with this lens, it just hunts the entire time. It could be on a tripod. I could have any different thing and I could just sit here and it would just hunt back and forth. See, it grabbed focus. Now it went all the way to infinity, stuck there. Now we focused on the right thing. Hunt, back to infinity. So it's just like one of those things where like, why? I don't understand. I'm not sure if it's like a firmware thing that could be updated or some sort of collaboration with Fujifilm and Zeiss to make these get updated. I wouldn't say the autofocus speed was bad and the accuracy isn't necessarily bad either. So what I had to resort to was basically just flipping it from, instead of AFC or AF continuous, to AF single. And at that point, it basically just would focus on the thing I wanted to and be fine. But if I had any sort of movement or anything like that, it was just kind of a mess. So I definitely wouldn't recommend this to anyone that's doing any sort of like lifestyle or wedding work or anything like that, that you are going to have moving subjects. But if you're going to be doing portraits or products or landscapes or anything like that, it's definitely a great lens. It's just super unfortunate. At least with my combo with the XE4, the autofocus just isn't something that I would be able to really go with. That being said, super fun lens, love the rendering and all of that other stuff coming out of it. So if you can get it for a good rate and you don't need good continuous autofocus, still a good lens and something that I would definitely consider if I was in those kind of positions. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks again to Zeiss for letting me borrow this lens. I have to send it back now, so it's kind of my last chance in using it. And if you are interested, I will definitely put links below to pick it up. Probably is going to be best to buy it on the used market if I were all being honest here, as it's an older lens, as there are plenty of copies out there for significantly less than buying new. Drop any questions for this below. If you have any other experience with this that contradicts mine, please let me know. I would love to know any other information you may have. Subscribe if you aren't already, and I will see you all on next one.